Welcome to the Who's Left podcast, a show about Indiana politics, history, and culture from the unapologetic perspective of the Hoosier left. My name is Scott Aaron Rogers, and I'm recording from Bloomington. Fun fact that doesn't mean anything. I reached out to all 9 Indiana Democratic congressional candidates after the primary, hoping to set up interviews. At the time of this recording, I've heard back from all of the even-numbered district candidates, but only one from an odd-numbered district. Just a quirky coincidence, I imagine, but come on, you oddballs, get with the program. Anyway, after talking with 2nd District candidate Lori Camp last week, we continue our tour of Indiana's even-numbered congressional districts this week with Derrick Holder running in the 4th. The 4th Congressional District is located in western Indiana, including Benton, Boone, Carroll, Clinton, Hendricks, Jasper, Montgomery, Morgan, Newton, Putnam, Tippecanoe, Warren, and White counties in full, as well as parts of Cass and Fountain counties, and one township from Howard County. The sprawling, largely rural district includes points as far south as Martinsville and Crawfordsville, covers the west suburbs of Indianapolis, the Lafayette area, Logansport in the north-central part of the state, all the way up to the Big Dairy Farm and the Nudists in Newton County in northwest Indiana. If you know, you know. This biography of Holder from his campaign website, quote, Derrick's life journey is a testament to resilience and commitment. Serving in the Marines right after graduating from Lawrence North High School in Indianapolis, he faced a pivotal moment with an injury that brought him back home. Undeterred, Derrick pursued higher education, earning a bachelor's degree in history and religious studies from IU, reflecting his deep-rooted intellectual curiosity and desire to understand the world. His professional path, marked by versatility and a strong work ethic, has seen him in roles from cashier to paralegal. These experiences, coupled with his personal story of overcoming financial hardships alongside his family during the 2008 downturn, have endowed him with a unique perspective and empathy toward the struggles of everyday Hoosiers. Derrick's life was further enriched in 2013 when he met his wife, leading to a loving marriage in 2014. Together, they share a daughter and are expanding their family through the adoption of 2 more children while also giving back as foster parents. This deep familial connection and commitment to nurturing others illustrate Derrick's profound understanding and value of community and family ties. Derrick Holder's candidacy is more than a political ambition. It's a pledge to be the voice of his constituents, driven by a sincere desire to effect meaningful change. His blend of personal experiences and professional diversity make him a relatable, compassionate, and competent candidate. Voting for Derrick Holder means choosing a representative committed to the betterment of Indiana's 4th Congressional District, ready to lead with heart and determination for a brighter future for all. End quote. In this interview, Derrick and I talked about his diverse background and how it prepared him to serve Hoosiers in Washington. We spoke at length about the economy, including healthcare and education, which are economic issues in their own right. We also got into immigration, abortion rights, and the far-right attack on American democracy itself. Finally, we talked about pressing current events like Israel's genocide in Gaza and our openly corrupt Supreme Court, before turning to the election-denier incumbent who stands in his way. Before we get to the interview, I want to remind you that Who's Left is a pro-democracy organizing project. I might be the guy with the microphone, but I want everybody within earshot to think of themselves as participants. What's going on in your part of the Hoosier state? Are there topics you'd like to see me cover? Folks I should reach out to. I want your input, feedback, and advice. Remember the 3 P's of organizing. People coming together to exercise power, which Dr. Martin Luther King defined as the ability to achieve purpose, a specific, concrete goal. That's us, you and I, and everybody we know, doing whatever we can, and then reaching deep down to find more, to build a more just, equitable, and compassionate Indiana and America. That's why I invite the guests I do. When we speak with candidates and elected officials, we have a direct line to those who do or might exercise the legitimate power of government on our behalf. When we speak with activists, we have opportunities to join with them and or learn from their activism. When we speak with academics and experts, we broaden our knowledge base so we can better understand the larger forces at work. I'm so excited to bring you the summer lineup already in the works with multiple congressional candidates and some big nationally renowned authors sprinkled in amongst Hoosiers working at the state and local level to help their neighbors. I'm constantly working to bring more and more elected officials, activists, organizers, authors, and experts into our community so we and our people, our extended networks, can more effectively come together to exercise our power for our purpose of building a better Indiana. I currently work as an independent craftsman during the day and work on this project on evenings and weekends. There are so many more things I want to do with this project if I could do this work full time, but I need your help to get there. So if you can, help me out with a paid subscription at scottaaronrogers.substack.com. For $5 a month or $50 a year, you can help me push our state in a better direction, and maybe if we reach critical mass, I can put down my tool belt and devote my full time to you, to this project, and to Indiana's future. So, if you have the means, pause right now, go to scottaaronrogers.substack.com and subscribe at the paid level. And while the best way to help this project is a financial contribution, if you can't afford it at this time, you can still help. Subscribe at the free level over on Substack. Set your favorite podcast player to auto-download new episodes of the show. Rate and review on the show, whatever platform you use. This is the most important thing you can do to help new listeners find us. Follow me on social media at facebook.com/HoosLeft. That's HOOS left. I'm also on Blue Sky at the same handle. On Instagram, Threads, and Twitter, I'm at ScottRog78. That is SCOTTROG78. And on Mastodon at ScottRog78 at Hoosier.social. Full video episodes of the pod are now available on YouTube, and I've been working really hard to improve the presentation over there. Go check it out. I think you're going to really like it. Also, clips on TikTok. The handle on both of those is at Who's Left. Please subscribe on whichever platforms you use and make judicious use of the comment function. The DMs are always open to discuss ideas for the project. But most importantly, share our message. Forward the articles to friends, family, and colleagues. Don't just like, but share on social media. Invite others to this community of Indiana leftists. Nobody is coming to save us. We've got to do it ourselves. To those who have joined this community already, especially those paid subscribers, thank you so much. I am truly honored and humbled. And to everybody, thank you for listening. Now here's my interview with Derrick Holder. Derrick Holder, welcome to the HoosLeft podcast.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Appreciate you being here. So tell our listeners and viewers a little bit about your background and what motivated you to run for Congress.
Well, I am a natural-born Hoosier. Went to high school at Lawrence North. I'm on the northeast side of Indianapolis. Grew up in Oak Landon area. So not the bougie Lawrence North, but country Lawrence North back in the 90s. So not the Geist, but the country part of it. Then I went into the Marines. Got injured in the Marines. Came home as a retired Marine. Went to IU, got a dual degree in history with a U.S. concentration and religious studies. I figured if I'm using the GI Bill, might as well get the best bang out of the buck and get 2 degrees while doing it. And then went from there, went into law school for 2 years, decided not the best for me. And I kind of jumped around jobs for a while, retail. Then I worked for the federal government. I delivered medical supplies and body parts during COVID. So transport for surgeries and whatnot.
Yeah, like transplant and whatnot.
Yeah, transplants.
Okay.
And then got the sweet little gig where I was actually flying the Pacers and the Colts COVID test back and forth between Indianapolis and New York City. Did that pretty much all through 2020 and first part of 2021. Racked up great mileage doing it. Had fun while doing it. And then I got a job with the state of Indiana. Worked there for 3 years, and here I am running for Congress now. What really made me wake up one day and say, you know what, I'm going to run for Congress is the childness that's going on in the people's house, in the House of Representatives. And we are not being represented correctly or legitimately by our current representative. And it's time for someone to actually listen to the people and be the people's voice in DC.
Yeah, it's a clown show around there, especially in the House. So it sounds like you've got a really diverse work history and studied different things, and that's relatable, I think, to a lot of people. A lot of us have had to jump from job to job and learn new things as we go, and it's not like a lot of time you're talking to a politician. Well, went to law school and went to practice with a firm, or I went to work for the government, and that's it. You do that for and that's great. We need those things, but that's not most people, and it's not super.
Not all of us are born with a silver spoon in our mouths. I mean, I'm a child of immigrants, so it's like I'm first generation, so pull myself up by my bootstraps and do what needs to be done. And to mention, I even taught for a while. So,
oh yeah,
taught in Lawrence Township, where
where did your parents come from?
USSR.
Is that right?
Yes, they came from the Soviet Union. Currently, they would be known as Ukrainian Americans.
So I imagine you have a sort of a personal connection to all that what's going on over there. Okay.
Oh yeah.
So I want to back up just a little bit and talk about like your your unique history and how maybe learning all the different things has prepared you for Congress.
It's taught me to be able to, one, be very adaptable with any situation. Learn that in the Marines, learn that teaching, learn that in retail. You have to be adaptable in all those jobs. And when I was doing paralegal work, I learned how to study an issue, learned how to do research. And when bills are being brought up, I want to make sure that I dig to the bottom of the bills. That way I know when I go to my constituents, I'll be able to say, hey, to be honest, this isn't the best one, but here's what it actually says, and take it out of legalese and bring it into normal English. Because there's a lot of bills that you're like, what does this say? Because it has a lot of legalese in it, and I can understand legalese and pull it into basic English where anybody can understand. And then the ability to see a problem from different sides. So I can understand why someone thinks the way they do. And if I know the reason why they're thinking the way they do, I could come up with a way to help them possibly see my point of view rather than theirs type thing. So to persuade them.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, and that's what needs to be done in Congress is rather than fighting each other, we need to work together.
For sure. So, I guess you said you're adaptable and you can see things from multiple sides, but I assume you have certain core values that you bring with you wherever you go. What sounds like one of them is definitely like listening and being able to look at all sides of things and cooperating with others. And am I onto something there? What else? What else do you bring with you to the table?
I also, as a Marine, I have lived by the Marine Corps core values of honor, courage, and commitment. Have the honor to do things because they need to be done, not because somebody is watching you, but because they need to be done. The commitment to serve others and honor, courage, and have the courage to really put yourself out there and fight for what is right for other people.
Very good. So, let's talk about what people need you to fight for in Washington. The most important thing most people talk about that affects their day-to-day lives is the economy. The top line numbers indicate a strong economy. A lot of voters are saying they don't feel that. People maybe don't feel that in their day-to-day lives. I have my own hypothesis for like what's going on there.
Mm-hmm.
But how do you explain that phenomenon?
Two simple words: corporate greed. Yes, the economy by the numbers is roaring. We have one of the best economies that we've had in 10 years. And it should be going gangbusters. But because PepsiCo takes a 36-ounce Gatorade and now makes it 34.2 ounces for the same price, or a 12-pack of cookies and now it's 10-pack of cookies for the same price, shrinkflation is a major issue in corporate greed. Well, who runs corporations? The rich and shareholders.
Yes.
Shareholders are getting rich on normal people that's buying stuff. And where's the money not going? Recycled back to the workers who's producing the goods, or the goods are being produced overseas for 11 cents an hour or 11 cents a day. I mean, we need to, we talked about this earlier. The trickle-down economy is obviously a misnomer. It doesn't work. You have to infuse the lower classes, lower and middle class, so they can buy products. They buy the products. That means the factories need to make more, which means they need more employees. More employees making more products, people buying more stuff, will then make the CEOs and shareholders more money. It's, in the words of William Jefferson Clinton, it's the economy, stupid.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not rocket science.
One of the other places where I think American family budgets are stretched, that it's a unique situation here that they don't have in other countries, and that's healthcare and our private insurance premiums and our for-profit healthcare system. I think we've been nibbling around the edges. Obamacare is a nice improvement, big improvement from where we were before that, but still just only taking care of a little part of the problem.
Yeah.
What do you think needs to be done with American healthcare?
Okay, so my plan for that is, one, to start off with, do a monthly stipend to all employees, all workers in the United States, to help cover 75% of their insurance premiums. Don't do it as a tax deduction, because guess what? Those of us that don't itemize our taxes don't get the tax deductions because we do the standard deduction. So most of us don't even get to utilize these tax breaks that the government offers. So how are we going to get around it? A monthly stipend paid directly to the workers of America. Next thing we need to do, when that's being all worked out, we need to lay the groundwork for, here comes the big nasty word, universal health care. We need to join the rest of the Western world with universal health care. I mean, I personally cannot complain about paying for health insurance because I am a disabled veteran. So I have TRICARE. I pay $36 a month for my entire family for everything. That's optical, dental, healthcare, everything. So I don't have a hat in the ring when it comes to this. But big thing for me and running for Congress, I'm not running for me. I'm running for my kids. I'm running for everybody else's kids. I could care less for me. I want to do it for other people.
Yeah. So another place that Americans are squeezed that maybe our friends in the rest of the world aren't is on education. Now, President Biden's student loan forgiveness has been a godsend for millions of people, full disclosure, self-included. But even then, it's like holding back a flood with a Band-Aid, right? It's like a one-time fix. It doesn't address the issues just systemic.
It's the Dutch boy with the finger in the dam.
Yeah. So, obviously, we need a better solution than that. What do you think we should be doing to improve public education and to make higher education more affordable?
Multiple things on that. One, we need to push trade schools a lot more. Trades are falling off majorly. We need to let our high school students know college isn't the only option. Technical schools are also an option. Apprenticeships are also an option. They're really good paying jobs. They're union jobs. And within the first 10 years, you're making more than a doctor would make in the first 10 years. Doctors don't make their $100,000, $200,000 till about 15 years down the road, where a plumber gets paid $36 an hour. I mean, they're already making bank at that amount. So trades are a very important area that we have to push. Because without trades,
right now, isn't there?
Oh yeah, major. But without tradesmen, nothing will get fixed in America. I mean, you won't have plumbers, you won't have construction workers, you won't have, stuff that, oh, I'll fix it next week. Well, you sometimes need an electrician to actually come in and do it.
Yeah.
And I should have took that advice about 7 years ago when I went to disconnect something and I shot across the kitchen because I got shocked. But I can fix it, trust me.
Been there.
But then for those who actually want to go to a traditional college, 2-year schools like Ivy Tech here in Indiana, community colleges, those should be tuition free. Because a major cost of college is, the prereq courses that you have to take. Well, Ivy Tech is great at those prereq courses. I mean, knock out your History 1, History 2, your algebra, your geometry, or whatever. Your comp. Oh my God, English comp. But knock those courses out at, at nothing. And then, if you want to just be okay with an associate's degree, you know what? More power to you. You got an associate's degree. If you want to go for your bachelor's, there you go. You have 2 years knocked off of a bachelor's. And now you can actually finish school within 4 years without going into serious debt. And then the third thing, knock interest rates to zero in student loans.
Yes.
Because there is no reason why someone should have, just doing round numbers here, $20,000 in student loans. So that's an Ivy Tech. You're not going to go to maybe 1 year of a 4-year school for $20,000. But you have $20,000 in student loans. In 30 years, you've paid $46,000. And guess what? You still owe $15,000 on There's something seriously wrong with that. And we have to fix that. Wipe the interest to zero. And then, people can actually start their lives earlier rather than, what is it now? People are starting families in their 30s now, late 20s, early 30s, not having their first kid until around 36, just because they're not financially ready. And that is actually diminishing our population. We are sub-replacement rate in the United States.
Yeah, well, that's actually a thing that Republicans like to use to complain about immigration, because they're all like, oh my God, all of us native-born Americans aren't reproducing fast enough. though those brown folk are coming over the border. They're pouring over the border, right? It's an invasion, and they're coming here to replace us.
Oh yeah, it's World War Z where they're climbing over the wall in Jerusalem.
Yeah. So, but and like we're here mocking it, right? We know it's horse crap. Like that's not exactly what's happening yet. Immigration always comes in second in these polls of like what
Mm-hmm.
is important to voters. Now, is that just because right wing media uses it as a handy wedge issue, something to scare people with, or are people in West Central Indiana that you're talking about actually like suffering negative effects in their lives because of illegal immigration?
Well, let's see. Cass County and Clinton County have the largest Hispanic population in all of Indiana, and they're both in District 4. When we say the largest, we're talking under 100,000 people. Um, so I don't see how it's a overwhelming amount, you know? Um, but when it comes to West Central Indiana, we need more people to do. This is going to sound horrible, but I'll get to the point and make it better. um, we need more people to do the jobs that a lot of people don't want to do.
Mm-hmm.
There are certain jobs out there that natural born Americans just don't want to do because we believe we are too educated for it.
Mm-hmm.
And why not bring over someone who's less educated? I mean, yes, we need people to do those jobs. I love it when Stephen Colbert had a thing on Colbert Report where he went out to immigrants who were doing jobs and it was a take my job segment.
Yeah.
Not one person called in for that job. That shows you no one wants to do those jobs. So the illegal immigrants, first of all, that's a misnomer. No human is illegal. They are undocumented, yes. But that's not really a huge problem in Indiana type thing. Most of the people here are documented. They pay their taxes like
Mm-hmm.
everybody else does. They're on a visa. Or they've gone through the citizenship and they're citizens. So it's not a huge problem in West Central Indiana. But when it does come to the southern border, I believe what we need to do, and to me, it makes perfect sense. Within 25 miles of the border, have judges in the cities within 25 miles of the border. That way, one, asylum seekers, visa seekers, whatnot, are not having to travel inordinate, distances and possibly be arrested because I'm going to my appointment. Where's your documentation? I don't have it. Back you go. Well, I was going to go to my court hearing. That way, it's less of a risk of that happening. We need more public defenders down there. We need them to be bilingual. Stop trying children separately. I mean, there are reports and actual court cases that I've read that a 3-year-old was deposed. 3-year-old. It's like, are you serious? Okay, I have a 2-year-old. I definitely could not depose him. I mean, his language ability, it's getting better. It is. But one thing, when the 3-year-old has heard nothing but Spanish, you're trying to depose him in English, you're pretty much speaking gibberish to him. And separating children from families, that's a horrible thing that has happened. And I mean, need to have a better infrastructure to vet those who are trying to come over. You cannot tell me that we do not have that infrastructure with a couple agencies within the federal government that cannot check on people. They're probably listening to us right now. I mean, several agencies that listen to everybody's phone conversations and text messages, and we've all just went, yeah, okay, whatever. Then they can't, go down to Mexico and be like, hey, is this person good? Okay, awesome.
Yeah, it seems like more than anything, we've got a processing issue
Yeah, exactly.
down there. Like, people want to come here, they want to come here legally.
Mm-hmm.
That's great, and it looks like a disaster, and it is a disaster
Oh, yeah.
because we can't process people and get them their papers and get them where they need to go efficiently. And there are places all over this country. There's probably places in your district that are experiencing like huge outflows of population.
Oh, yeah.
Right? You said we're not reproducing sufficiently to replace population growth. There's abandoned houses and buildings and stuff all throughout rural areas that, and there's thousands of people coming to the border each day that would be like, I don't care how dilapidated it is, I just want to get away from the gangs that are over.
Yeah, the cartels and
so what else do you hear about as you're traveling about the 4th district there? What are people telling you are their top issues?
big one, huge one right now, women's reproductive rights. That is probably the top one that I've heard of over everything else that we've talked about, is women's reproductive rights, because they are massively under attack. In fact, yesterday, contraceptives were put under attack. It's like, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I have a card that says it's 2024, not 1824. I mean, it's ridiculous. And as a foster parent, for one, we know not everybody can handle having a child. Some people just aren't built for it. Okay. Secondly, why are we not providing a stipend for childcare? If we're going to force these people to have children, then you are just continuing a cycle that is hopefully a single income family. That's at possibly the best outcome of it. Single payer family, where the other parent has to stay home with their child. That is an honorable job in itself. Don't get me wrong. That is a very honorable job by itself, and it's a full-time job. No breaks, no nothing. But if they had cheap, good childcare, both parents could go to work and pull themselves out of poverty.
Right.
So, I mean, that's a huge one, is why aren't we setting up people for success rather than how it seems right now? We're trying to set them up for failure just to keep, bad analogy, but just to keep our boots on their heads, to keep them down.
You need a easily exploitable, desperate population.
Exactly.
Are you also hearing about the state of democracy itself in this country, as you're out there going about, that's what the Biden campaign's leaning into a lot. And I mean, you and I know that our democracy is in fact under attack. Are voters seeing that? Are they feeling that?
Oh yeah. Big thing, January 6th. That's a big one. I can't believe that happened. I was watching TV and I was like, that cannot be our capital. I mean, and they're being lauded as heroes. Like, they're insurrectionists. I mean, bar none. These are some big words here. They are traitors to the Union. And anyone who sat there with them and is an election denier is treasonous to this nation. I will flat out say that. I took an oath when I went into the Marines to defend this Constitution from all enemies, foreign and domestic. And that is another reason that I am running, because my opponent is an election denier. And he needs to be put out of office. They all do.
It is.
Let's bring real Americans back in to the people's house.
Yeah. Anybody that still stands with Trump and Trumpism at this point is not qualified to hold office in this.
They drink the Kool-Aid. That's all that it is. And because they're so extreme, is what's pulling people towards them, is the extremeness of them. Because people are like, oh, they're telling the truth because they're being brash. You know what? I can do that too, but if I do that, I'm crazy. Or I'm the big C word, like we talked about earlier off camera, I'm a commie. Like,
right.
Okay, go ahead, call me that when my parents defected from a communist state. My parents left that. So it's like, no, I love this country to my bone. I have bled for this country. There is no other country that I rather be in. And when people are saying, well, if this person wins or this person wins, I'm going to go to Canada. No, that's a more reason to stay in your country to fight those people. A true patriot will stay and fight for what is right.
I am in agreement. Now, what is your campaign doing to maybe convey that passion, maybe pull some people in with that passion? Are you doing a lot of rural engagement? You've got a really big kind of dispersed area, or are you working on turning out, like, say, the Lafayette area, maybe the west suburbs of Indy out there where your some of your constituents are? What's the strategy your campaign's using?
Well, since the primary, I have been going to the monthly meetings for the different counties, consolidating the base, because I was in a contested primary. So I have to be able to consolidate the base. Be like, I know you voted for Miss Gurn. Thank you for voting, first of all. You did your most basic democratic right to do, is you voted. Secondly, sorry your person lost, but I'm who the other people chose. Let's combine forces, because together we're stronger than apart. We may have differing issues that are big ticket items, but we're not as far apart as most people thought we were. We're both first generation Americans and all of that. I am going to be also canvassing with Karen Whitney out of Hendricks, Boone, and Montgomery counties. I'm going to be canvassing with her. We're both going to be at the Hendricks County Pride on June 30th. And she's going to have her own table there. We're going to have a joint table there. So we're going to be handing out flyers, going out, talking to everybody who's there, showing our support, our undying, unwavering support. And then parades galore for the next yeah, it's huge parade season. Parades, we have Avon Night Out, we have a lot of events that the county parties are putting on. There's so much going on. I'm trying to build a coalition up and down my district of the state representative candidates, state Senate candidates, where there's only 3 of them. 3 state Senate candidates in my district. That's Leslie Nuss, Veronica, I'm going to butcher her last name.
Federal. I know Veronica.
Yeah, I think I'm going to butcher her name, and Kim Schofield. Those are the 3 state Senate candidates in my district, and I'm like, that's it. And then, I mean, we have some great candidates for state rep. Michelle Higgs down here. We have Tiffany Stoner, Josh Lowry, Robert Poe, Karen Whitney. I'm going to miss a few.
Yeah, you get some good ones in there. People I've talked to, and people I will be talking to, and people I want to talk to.
Yeah.
What about the kids? How is that Gen Z engagement going?
I have a deal with the IU campuses across the state for internships. I'm the only person in District 4 during the bash session that was the primary. So you had the 3 Republicans, 2 Democrats. And I was the only one to have internships. Like, we have to get the younger voters involved. So I have those internships open. I have teamed up with some of the other candidates to, direct depending on who they want to go with. So we're working as a team in District 4 to get kids, young adults out and helping with various campaigns. The Indiana Democratic Party takes Purdue young Democrats, ships them up to Chicago. So we don't get to touch them, and it's my district. I need the Purdue young Dems. They're shipped up to Mervan. So
I could use some help, but you need some help too. Yeah,
I would love for Purdue young Dems. I would love to work with Purdue, even though I graduated from IU. I would love to work with Purdue.
When I got to Purdue, great school. So we were talking about the Gen Z voters just now, and one of the things they're upset about is the Biden administration's handling of Israel-Gaza. Now, the leaders in both houses of Congress, both parties, just invited Netanyahu to come address a joint session of Congress. How would you feel about a visit from BB if you were in Congress there? And how do you view that entire situation over in the Middle East?
Why don't we just invite Putin while we're at it, or Kim? Just invite all the war criminals. We might as well. I am proudly Jewish, but we all knew what would happen when Netanyahu was brought back into power. We know and still know, he's a war hawk.
Mm-hmm.
His first term, many moons ago, he was a war hawk. He went against Gaza, or attacked Gaza, resettled Israelis into the Gaza Strip, into the West Bank. I mean, I believe in a two-state solution. Israelis deserve a homeland. So do the Palestinians. They both deserve a homeland. Let's work out a deal where both are good with it. Neither side's going to be happy with it. But where it's, okay, Palestine, you get this portion, and Israel, you keep this portion. And then a big one that I think is fair, Jerusalem becomes a world city.
I like it.
A UN mandate world city. There is no reason Jerusalem should belong to anybody. It should belong to everybody.
I think the UN should be headquartered in Jerusalem.
Yes. I mean, it's the city of three major religions.
Mm-hmm.
The houses of Muslim worship are on the houses of Jewish worship in one area, literally.
Mm-hmm.
And right up the hill is a sacred Christian site. All within, you can stand in one spot and see the Temple Mount, the Dome of the Rock, and where Jesus was crucified. You can stand in one spot and see all three of them. I'm getting goosebumps talking about it because I've been to Jerusalem 3 times in my life. There is something there. Don't know what it is. Maybe it's a 4,000-year-old city and it's just super old.
Heaps of history.
Yeah, or it could be,
Gee, Davy, could it be God?
Yeah. So, I mean, it could be either. But it's been thought over way too many times, and no one should own it. It should belong to everybody. And heavens no, do not put an embassy in Jerusalem.
Yeah, that was a terrible idea.
I mean, the capital
deliberate
is
provocation.
Tel Aviv Jaffa.
Yeah.
Have the embassy in Tel Aviv Jaffa. Simple. So
Yeah. I want to move on to another topical issue real quick before we wrap up, and that is the Supreme Court.
Mm-hmm.
Over the last couple of years, we have seen through great reporting from ProPublica, among others, that at least 2 justices, and that's Clarence Thomas and Sam Alito, are openly corrupt. The Roberts Court is completely rogue. I know the court is a little more the Senate's purview, but, the Constitution does give Congress control to regulate the court. What should be done about this?
I mean, it's basic checks and balances on that. Our government was developed that way. One house of the government doesn't get too powerful. And we need to seriously put a check on the Supreme Court. Yeah, Thomas and Alito. I mean, I hate to use the I word, but I believe impeachment is in order for them. And then we have to replace them with judges who are very middle of the ground judges. They're not too far right, not too far left. They can hear cases and not have politics influence them. They try it, or they hear it on the merits of the case. And that's how our judicial system should be. That's what it was founded to be. A judge hears it on the merits of, the case. Not, well, I believe the person who put me in here will want me to decide this way. Boom, no Roe v. Wade. They want to, and in fact, our gubernatorial candidate has said, hey, let's get rid of Loving v. Virginia.
Yes, he did.
I'm like, what?
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'm sure one Supreme Court justice in particular would love that. And we've already mentioned them. So, there needs to be impeachment on that. They are openly corrupt. In fact, Justice Thomas's wife had a little bit of something to do on the insurrection. So, yeah.
Yeah, it is.
Seriously, something needs to happen.
Be it impeachment or court expansion or something. It needs to be done in the next couple years. We need Biden reelected. We need both houses of Congress to do something about it.
Exactly.
And so we talked briefly about our friend Jim Baird, your opponent there. But fill the rest of the listeners in here. We've got listeners all over Indiana and all around the Midwest. Who is this guy? What does he stand for besides election denial?
He is very much a echo chamber of the RNC. He does whatever the party wants him to do. So he has voted multiple times, one to impeach the director or secretary of Homeland Security. He has signed the damnation of President Biden's handling of the southern border. He has gone after our appliances for some reason. So, Jim Baird is just a pure echo chamber of the RNC. I promise not to be an echo chamber of the DNC. I have my own point of view on stuff. They've gone in directions that I'm like, are you serious? Why? Why that way? But once again, it's not me who should be making that decision. It's the constituents of District 4. I am just their voice in a sea of voices in the House. But I am their employee. This is the longest and convoluted job interview I've ever been on. I mean, I'm trying to get a job as a federal employee. That's flat out all that it is. And I have to have more people, more employers like me than likes the current person who's in this job.
That's that's a good way to frame it. Well, then in that case, let this be the last question of the job interview, at least this portion of the job interview. Give us a closing message here for the citizens of Indiana's 4th Congressional District. Not just why the voters should choose you over your opponent, but this is a friendly audience. no one that's listening here is probably going to vote for Jim Barrett anyway, but what do you need from us? How can our listeners help you this cycle? I'm really trying to convince people, like, voting is the bare minimum this year.
It's the bare minimum you can do as an American citizen. Voting is the bare minimum you can do. What I need, what all of us need, the other 8 members who are trying to, well, the other 5 that are trying to overturn or flip their seats. What we all need is money, material, and talent. Money, because we are running against incumbents who have millions of dollars. Now, I am running a campaign that's very penny pinching. I do not believe you should have to spend millions to buy a congressional seat. You should be able to earn that seat by what you say and how people hear you. Now, how people are going to hear me is also going to be talent. So if you are wanting to volunteer for a campaign, and if you're in District 4 or one of the surrounding districts, I have a button on my website that's volunteer. Tell me exactly which portion of my campaign you want to help out with, be it canvassing, be it phone banking, be it hosting house parties. Any of those things. Even if you just want a sign, we'll bring you out a sign. And when I say we, me, I will bring you out a sign personally. Every email that I respond to, it's me responding to you. It's not an intern or anyone else. It's me responding to you. So it may take a day or two for me to get back to you, but it is me responding. And material is the in-kind kind of donations. So it's, if you want to buy the signs, if you want to, put up a billboard, if you want to, I don't know.
If you're a local business in the 4th district,
if you want to host a house party, but it's at your restaurant or something like that, I'm all for it. It'll get people out. It'll get me interacting with what I believe is the biggest section that I need to target and get are the non-declareds. There are more non-declareds in District 4 than Republicans and Democrats combined. Need to get the non-declareds voting. And usually non-declared, they're not going to be big Trumpers. So they're going to vote for either Biden or RFK Jr. They're going to vote for Dr. McCormick. They're going to vote for Dr. McCrae. Go one more step down, and guess what? You have Derrick Holder. So, and then, of course, they're going to go with either Destiny Wells or Beth White for AG. So, we need to get the non-declareds out. A lot of the non-declareds are your Gen Zs. We need to get them out and voting to understand the issues, to understand why it's so important that one vote matters. Your vote is your voice. So we have to help them understand. And I'm not just talking about even college students, high school seniors that just graduated this year. A lot of them will be 18 before November. and they are allowed to vote in the general election. They were allowed to vote in the primary, but they're allowed to vote in the general election as well. We need to get them involved in local politics, because when we get them involved, then the local districts can change for the better. The local cities, townships, burbs, villages will change for the better. And that will just roll all the way up to 1600 Pennsylvania. So
it's about rebuilding a culture of democracy, right? I think we took it for granted, I think, for too long, and got complacent, and we've gotten what we've gotten recently. Derrick, where can the people find you? Maybe help donate, give you a contribution, or sign up for a volunteer opportunity.
My website is derrickholder.com. It's DERRICKHOLDER.com. And right on the homepage is volunteer, get a sign, and donate. I have blogs that I put up that dive deep into some issues, which I really need to get started on again. I've taken a month off of it, but it'll do deep dives into some serious issues. It has my calendar of scheduled appearances. It has links to all my socials. So you can send me an email, send me Messenger, Instagram, a tweet, send a carrier pigeon, smoke signals. As long as it's in Morse code, I can understand it.
Well, all right, ladies and gentlemen, non-binary folk, citizens of Indiana's 4th District, find this man, help him out, tell your friends, tell your kids, get people in your life active in the democratic process. Derrick Holder, thank you so much for joining the Who's Left podcast.
Thank you for having me. It's been a joy.
Once again, that was Derrick Holder, Democratic candidate for United States Congress from Indiana's 4th District. First things first, as I was listening to this interview, taking notes, thinking about how I wanted to frame our conversation, I noticed a thing Derrick and I both did. Maybe you noticed, maybe you didn't, but I want to acknowledge it. See, we both let our privilege slip out. Very early in the interview, Derrick told me he was the child of immigrants, and I, inside my societally conditioned head, was like, hey, white guy, you don't look like an immigrant. And I couldn't wait to ask where from. You can hear me chomping at the bit. This is implicit bias rearing its head. A short time later, we discussed illegal immigration. I asked Holder if illegal immigration was actually having deleterious effects on West Central Indiana, and he transitioned to talking about the Hispanic population in the district. I hear politicians and talking heads do this all the time, and it's wrong on a couple of levels. First, it could be taken to imply that the Latino population in Indiana is full of undocumented individuals, and that's just not the case. The overwhelming majority of foreign-born citizens living in this country are here legally. Second, we should acknowledge that immigrant does not equal Hispanic or Latinx. Immigration is not strictly a Spanish-speaking phenomenon, and we have legal and illegal immigrants of all origins spread throughout the country. Finally, as we discussed the benefits of immigrant populations replacing outflow from rural areas, I'm over here offering abandoned, dilapidated, potentially unsafe housing to our new neighbors. Now, I don't actually suggest doing this and was doing so to illustrate a point, but I think it's still important to acknowledge my privilege and state that safe shelter should be a human right. And I could have memory holed this entire exchange, but I thought it could be a useful teaching moment, so I reached back out to Derrick during the editing process to discuss our mutual blind spots and asked him if I could do so. He agreed and had the following to say, quote, I have been kicking myself for the past week because of what I said. Please do mention it as I feel really bad about it. But also mention, if you would, that growing up in Southern California brought me up to love that we are seeing a larger Latino population in Indiana, and we are only the better for it. End quote. Anyway, maybe not our best moment. Thought it was important to point that out. But let's talk about everything else Derrick had to say in this interview. Number one, I totally relate to this guy. Religious studies and history at IU, like my favorite areas to study at my favorite place ever. Jack of all trades, knows a little bit about everything, like this is literally me. Call me biased, but it's my firm belief we need more people in Congress who didn't follow traditional paths into politics. Holder understands the dynamics of the key issues. On the economy, he sees the overwhelming effects of corporate greed. On healthcare, he sees universal healthcare as the goal. On education, Derrick might not push the envelope as far as some on the left might like, but his proposals would move the ball forward. For all of our blind spots on the issue of immigration, and there are many, Holder does have firsthand knowledge of the immigrant experience. Gets to the real root of the problem, and like so many whose parents came here seeking a better life, values the unique freedom America offers more than many native-born citizens. You can hear this as he described his horror on January 6, 2021. Derrick, a foster parent, understands the importance of women's reproductive freedom better than most men and sees the cycles of poverty that forced birth leads to and the way the ruling class benefits from our desperation. Finally, I think it is incredibly important that Derrick Holder, a proud Jewish man, calls the far-right ethno-nationalist Israeli government's genocide of the Palestinian people in Gaza what it is. Derrick has my full support, and I encourage anybody in the 4th Congressional District or anybody who has any loved ones in the 4th Congressional District to get involved. Vote. Yes, of course. And donate if you can. Those recurring donations, even $5 a month, make a huge difference. Martinsville, Mooresville, Cloverdale, Greencastle. Check your voter registration. Plainfield, Avon, Brownsburg, Danville. Make sure your friends, neighbors, and anyone you know who values democracy does the same. Crawfordsville, Frankfort, Lebanon, Delphi. Commit to making sure your people vote on or before Election Day, November 5th. Lafayette, Purdue students, faculty, staff, remind everyone you know constantly. Early voting starts October 8th. Encourage them to vote early and then use the remaining time to bring their people into the fold. When those of us committed to democracy vote, we win. The wealthy and powerful have set many hurdles in front of us, so we have to work extra hard, and we have to start now. Thank you for listening. Thanks again to my guest today, Derrick Holder, who can be found at derrickholder.com. That's DERRICK Holder.com. Please help him in whatever way you can, be it financially, by canvassing, by writing letters, whatever you can do. I managed to keep today's interview to a decent length, but I've got deleted scenes from other recent guests available exclusively for paid subscribers over at scottaaronrogers.substack.com. A membership over there is the best way to help this project grow, but in addition to Substack, you can find me on Facebook, Blue Sky, YouTube, and TikTok at HoosLeft, and on most other social media sites at ScottRog78. If you want to send me a message, get in my DMs on social media or email me at scottrog78@gmail.com. Forward the show to a friend and tell them to forward it to another friend. Let's keep this project growing. Until next time, this has been the Who's Left podcast. I'm Scott Aaron Rogers. Love each other, Indiana.